Well, good Monday morning to you, and welcome to our Monday morning live edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Live healthy, be healthy with Doctors Jim and Janine Fox of Doctors Nutrition, located on Cowan Road in Gulfport, just south of Pass Road.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice, chilly, cold,
brisk.
Finally feels like winter morning here.
Yes, it does.
I know. I mean, it's, we were talking about Saturday. Y'all were sitting out on the back porch in shorts and all that.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
It was
yeah, Saturday we were still
different.
outside. Now it was sunny and nice, but then yesterday it was a little chilly.
Yeah, it got a little chilly yesterday, and then this morning really cold. So, but anyway, our phone lines, let me go ahead and give them to you, 896-0713, 800-349-0713. The numbers to call in. You have a question regarding today's topic or anything in particular that you'd like to ask the doctors about. We'd be glad to take your phone calls. And we'll be glad that we can put you on the air live, or you can pass the question along to our operator. The topic of the day, something first of the year, always the new year, everybody's saying one of the big key things, one of them is quit smoking.
Yeah. Right? Which you need to do if you
which
do
is a
smoke,
good idea.
Which is a very good idea.
Very good idea, but also they want to be healthier, work out more, and lose weight.
Right.
Or we don't like to use the D word because nobody likes to hear that. So we call it a lifestyle change.
Well, that's what you have to realize is, the lifestyle's what got you in trouble. Mm-hmm. As a friend of mine says, somebody else said, well, I don't like the taste of that. And he said, your taste bud's what got you in trouble with this stuff. And that's true. It's very true. Our taste bud gets us in trouble.
And everybody, there's no doubt genetics plays a role in weight, but you can overcome your genetics. If you're his genetics, everyone in his family is overweight.
And I was just reading some statistics over the other day. A doctor at one of the docs out in California that I like to follow on Twitter and everything else, if you get into that, his name is Bob Lustig, pediatric endocrinologist out at University of San Francisco. Smart guy, and he went through the details of how much of it is actually genetic. And yes, our genetics play a big part, but the most, factoring in every obstacle and every factor that you can think of for genetics, they said maybe 20 to 22% of your problem is genetics. You can overcome 22%. I did. So if my genetics probably predispose me to easily gain weight, and they do, but you can do something about that. You can change your lifestyle and what you eat, and you can do that.
It's like we always stress, it's not a diet, because as soon as you get off that diet, it comes right back.
Oh yeah.
Because if you've been doing a lot of stuff wrong and gain the weight, and then you lose it, what makes you think it ain't going to come back on when you go back to what you were doing?
Yeah. Exactly, and that's why we call it a lifestyle change, because it's changing your whole way of whatever you put in your body.
Well,
eating, and not just eating, but drinking as well.
Oh yeah. What's bad about modern America is folks tend to drink way too many calories. They'll drink some huge amount of calories. Juice. Everybody thinks juice is great. Juice is one of the most fattening foods you can
loaded with sugar.
Loaded with sugar. Orange juice. Huge. I mean, when you're talking about vitamin C, come on, lick the peel. You get more vitamin C off that. You'd be better off doing that. Chew on that. Leave the juice alone, because you're just getting sugar. You're getting such a small amount of vitamin C, it's not even worth taking in.
And I always say, don't drink your calories.
Exactly.
I had a girl come in one time, and I was talking to her, and she was saying, she couldn't lose this weight, and I started saying, what do you eat? And she was telling me about her diet, and it wasn't bad, and it really wasn't that much. And finally I said to her, well, what do you drink? And she said, well, I do drink Cokes. I was like, okay, how many? And she sat there and she kept counting. And finally she said 24. I said, a day? And I was like, okay, you don't have to eat a thing. 24 Cokes a day is...
A day?
A day.
Yeah. A day.
Was over 4,000 calories and nothing but sugar.
Holy
so
cow.
You don't have to eat if you do stuff like that. I always say don't
Somebody
drink
like
your
that's going to be
calories.
bouncing off the wall with all the caffeine. You wouldn't be able to sit down very long.
I was kind of shocked.
You're right. You're right.
And this old thing, we'll go to the store to get a burger or something like that, and I'll have a Diet Coke or a diet drink.
Yeah.
No.
That's where the science gets in really. It gets real deep, and we only have a short show to talk about it. But the science behind what happens when you drink that diet soda, and if you ever notice, mostly only the big heavy people are drinking the diet sodas. When you do that, you're still sending a signal to your brain, and they're actually showing some of the research now. You remember Pavlov and his dog? He could ring a bell and they'd salivate. Okay. Well, our brain's the same way, and our bell is that sugar or sweet taste. So they're even saying things like stevia, which is, no calories whatsoever. A diet soda, which is 0 calories. It still makes your brain produce, it sends a signal down to the pancreas that says, make more insulin. We've got sugar coming. And so the pancreas makes all this insulin. I don't care what you eat next, your body says store it, because insulin is a fat storage molecule. Hormone, if you want to know the truth, it's a hormone.
And I think people that drink diet drinks are probably worse because they think because it has no calories, they can do more of it.
And they
So they're doing
overconsume.
it all day long. At least with the regular drinks, people say, oh, well, I really shouldn't have too many of these. But with diet drinks, people think they can have them all day long. And so all day, all they're doing is spiking their insulin and storing
And
that
honestly,
fat.
I can't stand the taste of a diet drink.
Well, no.
I haven't I couldn't tell you when
Usually
I've
if I
tasted
get something,
one, so
it's unsweet tea.
Yeah.
And I don't put anything in it.
No,
That's-
unsweetened
and
tea's
that's
fine.
fine.
That's fine. Unsweetened tea's fine.
and
Unsweetened
even
coffee. is
even
fine.
lemon in it, lime in it, that's good too. I mean,
Yeah.
because lemons and limes are actually fat burning.
Yeah.
So those are a good thing to squeeze in your water. If people say, I don't like the taste of water, I hear that every day. I'm like, for one, water don't have a lot of taste, but
Well, no, it's not supposed
I mean,
to.
you have to have water. Water is essential for life. I mean,
Unless
that
you
is-
get flavored water, then there goes your sugar
There goes your
again.
sugar
right,
back,
because
yeah.
a lot of those flavored waters, again, have sweeteners. That's why you like them.
They're either going to have sugar sweeteners or some of the artificial sweeteners, which neither one are really
Or
good for
fruit
you.
sweeteners.
Because they're literally, when you look at the science behind it now, we're seeing that, okay, something that smells, sweet, the Cinnabons, well, those things, you go in and you smell that, it literally tells your brain sugar. And your brain says, well, maybe you're going to be consuming some of that. We don't know what this dummy's going to do. So it automatically starts making more insulin. And then again, whatever you have eaten or will eat, it's going to start storing it as fat because that's its job. And we do a lot of lab work now. I mean, we do a lot of lab work. And one of the things that we're going to tell you that if you're serious about weight loss, you really need to do our weight loss panel. And it's going to look at things like your blood sugar, your fasting blood sugar. It's going to look at the hemoglobin A1C for all of you out there who kind of keep up with that thing. And they can be absolutely normal. And the insulin, and that's one of our tests. And we're going to check that fasting insulin. And if it's sky high, all bets are off.
You're not going to lose weight until it
No.
comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8960713, 800-349-0713. We're talking about weight loss. Going to give you some ideas and some a great list of foods
Yeah.
that you can choose from to and still have a good healthy diet. So we'll be right back in just a moment here on our Monday morning live edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Live healthy, be healthy. And welcome back to our Monday morning live edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Live healthy, be healthy with Doctors Jim and Janine Fox of Doctors Nutrition. They're located on Cowan Road in Gulfport, just south of Pass Road. They're open Monday through Friday from 10 to 5, Saturdays 11 to 2. The doctors are there on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Dr. Mays is there on Wednesdays and Fridays. So, and got a great crew of folks there all week long. Your phone lines, or our phone lines, are open 896-0713, 800-349-0713. And somebody called in with a question, what about the effects of caffeine? Can it make losing weight harder?
It depends on how much you take, I think, as far, the normal amount of caffeine that you get in a couple of cups of coffee or so a day, no. Now, if you overdid the caffeine, like the 24
Right.
Cokes a day, yeah, it's because it's going to spike the cortisol.
Right. When you get an abundance of caffeine, and I've seen some of the research that said probably over about 3 cups of what's in a regular coffee a day, then it spikes your cortisol. And when cortisol goes up, it affects sugar levels, it starts storing fat, it starts
Blood
making you
pressure?
gain weight in the middle.
blood
it
pressure and
increases
so on
blood
too, yeah.
pressure.
Yeah.
But small amounts of caffeine, a lot of the new research is saying that it's actually
pretty
good
good.
for you.
Yeah.
Now, what does that coffee in the morning, that sugar that you
Yep,
add
I
to
knew that
it,
was
there
coming
you go,
next.
yeah. I knew it
now,
was coming up to that one,
black
right?
coffee by itself is
Yeah.
okay. That's not going to make weight
But if you
gain.
got to have sugar in it, you
Right.
so many times we talked about stevia.
Well, stevia can even,
And monk
they're-
fruit.
They're even
Monk fruit.
thinking some of it can, just that sweet taste.
Just that sweet taste, because remember back to
Again,
Pavlov
with
and his
the
dog. Yeah.
brain. Yeah.
I always say the more you taste sweet, the more you want to.
Here's
Oh, I know that.
Get away from that sweet taste.
And here's a fact about, we talked about insulin, and then when you throw in cortisol, and if you, crank up the caffeine, you can crank up your cortisol. Insulin says store fat. Cortisol says right here. And it's going to put it right around the belly. Okay,
right
so
in
if,
the middle.
if you're, if
And the
you're doing
older that you get, it's
well,
easier to get on there.
do, yeah. Right. Yeah. And it wants to keep that fat close by the liver so it can use it for fuel quickly if we need it. Mm-hmm. Problem is we probably don't ever need it. So
No.
we're having problems there.
When I started on this about a year and a half ago, talk about a difference and talk about being able, a lot of people think, well, I won't eat good, I'll end up starving myself, if I got to do that to lose weight. No, this is basically a low glycemic diet that you can stop by Doctor's Nutrition and pick up a copy of it absolutely free. It is absolutely
and we'll go
free.
over it with you and explain it to you.
And it basically talks about it's a good fats diet. On salads, be careful with your salad dressing. Always drink plenty of waters and do not drink your calories.
Right.
That's what she said.
That's a really good, if people would
Yeah.
stop drinking their calories, they would see a difference right there. Because it does make a difference, and most drinking calories are loaded with sugar.
Yeah.
Now, if you do, like I said, coffee, we do have our little bit of coffee in the
Oh, yeah.
morning, but
Yeah.
we do it black. If you do tea, do it unsweetened. There are other things other than water that you can drink, but
Right.
you just don't want it sweetened.
Or like you said, put a little
everything is
lemon
sweetened.
or something like
Right.
that in there.
Yeah, if you want to,
Get a little
yeah.
extra added taste. But going down this list, it's a great list of foods. Something that my wife and I eat a lot of: chicken breast, ground turkey breast,
But you can even do
You can do dark meat.
You can even eat beef if you want.
Yeah.
Like I said, the thing is
ground
what-
beef,
what you
less than
wanna-
10% fat, lean cuts of beef.
Try to, if you're going to do the beef and so on, you want to try to get the grass-fed, organic,
Right.
Because it's just got a better fat content for you. And one of the things that we always talk about if you go through this diet thing, this little sheet, this little handout, we take out the carbohydrates, and if we take out the carbohydrates, we're going to increase the amount of fat, but you want to make sure they're good fats. Now, what you don't want is a high-fat, high-carbohydrate diet,
Right.
Because you're just going to store the heck
And
out
that's
of
what
it.
the American diet is.
That's what the American diet is, right? yeah.
Peggy from Pascagoula on the phone with us. Good morning, Peggy.
Good morning.
Morning.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, I want to know what about high blood pressure.
High blood pressure? What about high blood pressure?
Well, my fiance, he has it, but he hasn't been taking his medication. Was that going to cause a problem?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. One thing that high blood pressure over long periods of time definitely enlarges the heart.
Yeah.
And so you definitely get problems from not controlling blood pressure. There's a lot of different ways you can control blood pressure. You got to figure out what the underlying problem is first. And that's we always recommend, because even the stress hormone being real high can increase blood pressure.
That's that cortisol.
Your potassium being low can make high blood pressure. Your sodium being high can make high blood pressure. There's so many things that affect it. Thyroid problems can make high blood pressure. Adrenal
issues,
problem. We always say do the lab work, find out the underlying problems, and then even some people still their blood pressure may not come down and might have to do medication.
That's right.
Yeah, but definitely,
But definitely
don't give up.
You don't want uncontrolled long-term high blood pressure. That is harmful.
Because that can again lead to heart problems,
And
stroke.
and kidney problems.
Heart, kidney,
Yeah.
and you can have things like heart attacks and strokes,
Yeah.
which those are
So-
not very good. Yeah.
But
Or even hemorrhages. Some of
Yeah.
the strokes, bleeding stroke is one of the things that can come with high blood pressure because you pretty much blow out the vessels. So there's definitely a lot of downside to having high blood pressure and keeping it high.
But some of the best choices on this are really, really good, and a lot of vegetables on here. But if you get vegetables, please make them fresh vegetables. Don't
Right.
buy the canned stuff.
Right.
It may be more convenient to keep in your cupboard or whatever. But other than that, you want to have fresh vegetables.
Kind of
as
the
much
rule
as
of
you
thumb, one
can.
of the big things that we stress on anything and any health problem, not just weight loss, is a real food diet. And if you stay on the perimeter of the grocery store, you tend to get more real food.
Real food,
right.
Because if you think about it, you walk in most grocery stores, you have your produce, and around the back you might have your meat section, and then you might have your eggs. And so if you stay on the outside, you're much better off. It's all the packaged and processed food in the middle. And you don't want packaged processed foods. And
Yeah.
that's what's causing a lot of the health problems and all the weight gain today. And there's a lot of stuff in those foods that affect the way the body processes and the way the chemicals work in the body.
Right. And I think, because, Janine and I have this little saying, that your body is a chemical factory.
It is.
And, it produces all kinds of chemicals. So you've got to make it produce the right kind of chemicals. If you keep putting, the same old thing you've heard about your computer, garbage in, garbage out, same thing in your body. If you put garbage in it, you're going to get garbage out. And if you eat your packaged processed foods, in other words, if you go into the interior of that grocery store and start eating all the packaged processed foods, garbage in, garbage out, you're going to have things like high blood pressure, like Peggy's fiance and so on. So you're going to have some issues.
I've
no
had
doubt.
many people that's went on the real food diet or and low glycemic, and their blood pressures even come down. So it's not just, for one, weight loss can make a difference in blood pressure also.
Certainly can.
Now, it's not always a factor, because sometimes you see some really thin people with high blood pressure. A lot of times that is stress hormone, a lot of things, stuff like that, because those people tend to be a high type A personality, which will increase blood pressure.
And we live in an area that gives you some of the best healthy foods in the world. and that's
Seafood.
Seafood.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
On the list here, shrimp, lobster, scallops,
Yeah.
crab meat. We
When
have all that
fish.
down
Yeah,
here.
everybody's
kind of
heard of the
fresh fish.
paleo diet, and we had Dr. Cordain was on our radio show with us as one of our guests, and he said, I can't believe y'all live in the best place in the world for food, but, you know, because he loves seafood, and he said he's been down here just to get the seafood before. So, you know, everybody.
You know,
Well,
when
my daughter lives in Shreveport. I mean, that's not that really far away, but
no.
but still. Nancy from Gulfport's got a call for us. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good
we do for
morning.
you,
Go
Nancy?
ahead.
Okay. My question is, when you have your insulin checked,
Mm-hmm.
should it always be fasting, or should you do it non-fasting, or what?
Okay, in a perfect world, you'd want to do both. You'd want to see how it spikes, but you know, normally what we do is a fasting glucose, the A1C, and the insulin. So that's fasting. And we know that if it's really high when you're fasting, it's going to go higher when you eat something. But in a perfect world, you'd really like to check it, you know, after a meal as well, like an hour and a half after a meal.
I mean, probably the perfect thing is there's actually the glucose tolerance test that you do. You can do insulin along with it. So
Right.
you can check it fasting and then check it at 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It just takes a long test.
A lot of blood.
On our weight loss panel, we do the fasting insulin because what we found is the people that are real high fasting, they go really high after they've eaten because that's not even eaten. But even if you have a normal fasting insulin, it could still be spiking really high after you eat.
But you know, if you have a high fasting insulin, you know, then you know for sure you are what we call insulin resistant.
Right.
Your body does not use its insulin properly. And so that tells you you've got a sugar handling problem. And like I say, we see people all the time that have normal fasting blood sugar. Their A1C is really good, and yet that insulin is sky high.
All right, thanks for the call. Stay tuned for this week's special. We'll be right back in just a moment. Our Monday morning live edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Wish it was Friday already. Pooh. We'll be back in a minute.
Russian.
And welcome back to our final segment of our Monday morning live edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Live healthy, be healthy with Doctors Jim and Janine Fox of Doctors of Nutrition on Cowan Road in Gulfport. Robert from Gulfport is on the phone with a question about metabolism. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning.
Morning.
What's your question, Robert?
I was wondering what was a good supplement to take to increase your metabolism, but yet it won't affect your blood pressure medicine or cholesterol medicine.
I mean, one of the things, well, metabolism in general, you got to change what you eat. I mean, honestly, like I said, we talked about your body being a chemical factory, and you got to change those chemicals. So again, you got to find out the underlying problem. Now, there is something called CLA, conjugated linoleic acid, and it does help with fat metabolism, and it does help with diabetes. It does help with sugar. It does help with the fat in the middle, and it does not in any way increase blood pressure or affect any of your medications. And that is actually, speaking of CLA, that is one of our specials this week.
It really is, yeah. You know, and one thing about way back when, when we had cattle that was beef that was grown and raised on pastures, you know, grass, they had a high CLA content. Now that we feed them, you know, the things that make them fat, you know, the corn and wheat and so on, the CLA content has bottomed out. So, you know, that's another reason. And so, Robert, it's a good idea to do something like the CLA. Now, if you're exercising, CLA works really well.
It does. They've
Really
actually
well.
found it does work better when exercising.
Right.
But it does work some.
Works some, even
And I have a
otherwise,
lot
yeah.
of people that come in that have that extra 5-10 pounds, and it definitely seems to help.
Yes.
But with anything, we need to stress again the lab work, because if you have an underlying thyroid problem, that affects the metabolism. If you have an underlying adrenal problem, that affects metabolism.
Certainly
if you have
does.
underlying prediabetes or diabetes, affects metabolism. If you have a high fasting insulin, it affects metabolism. So all that, and that's all checked on our weight loss panel. We even, on the weight loss panel, you do have the vitamin B12 levels, the vitamin D levels, because they play a role in metabolism. So there's a lot of things that play a role in the metabolism, so that's why we stress doing the lab work so you know what your underlying problems are. Because you do have to, you've got to fix those in order to help your metabolism.
Yeah, that way you're not just taking something.
You're just not
to
taking
be
a product just to be taking it, because there is no magic pill.
No.
I mean, we tell people that every day. They don't want to hear it, and people come in wanting something for weight loss, and we do tell them there's not a magic pill. There's some things that can help, but there's not magic pills. You got to do stuff for the underlying problems.
All right, thank you for the call. And
Yeah.
Speaking of, you said CLA is one of
Yes.
this week's
Yes,
specials.
yeah, the week's
let's
special.
throw up this week's specials for you.
Yeah, Leanplex is a combination of a compound called DIM or diindolylmethane which helps change some of the hormone metabolism and it just change how we metabolize it. And it's got some other things in it for weight loss.
Yeah.
And then we have the CLA, of course, which is, we just talked about
Conjugated
CLA.
linoleic acid,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So this week only and 25% off.
All right. Johnny from Leaksville is on the phone. Good morning, Johnny.
Good morning. How y'all doing this morning?
Good.
Doing fine. Doing
What can I do
fine.
for you, Johnny?
I actually talked to Dr. Fox several years ago
Okay.
when he was on the radio,
Oh, okay.
and I lost her phone number, and I never have been able to get up with him. But I
Okay.
talked to you one time about the H. pylori bacteria.
H. pylori? Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. I have been attacked with that stuff about 5 or 6 times and been treated for it. And they say it's bad up here in this part of the country. But talking about the diet thing, I'm about almost 6 foot tall and I weigh about 225 pounds. And I fluctuate between that and 235. I've never exceeded that. And I had bypass surgery 14 years ago. And they tell me my heart's good. I've had a heart cath 2 years ago. They say my grafts are open.
Mm-hmm.
And I have just small vein blockages.
Good.
And what I was asking, I eat my oatmeal every morning.
Stop.
And sometimes I eat toast, a little piece of toast or two with it.
Stop.
And
All
I drink,
sugar.
Stop.
I drink a lot of water, and I just maybe 1 Coke a day.
All right, stop
Okay.
that. All right, out of the 4 things you mentioned, I'm going to tell you to stop, never do the 3 of them again. The oatmeal, the toast, and the Coke. Stop it. If you don't, you're always going to
Because-
weigh 225 to 235.
Right, and because all that turns to sugar. They're all high glycemic foods.
Yeah.
So they're all and just grains.
Now, what about, I've heard people say that stone ground oatmeal,
I
same
don't
thing?
care. I don't care how you
Yeah.
grind it. It's like people say, "Well, I don't eat any white bread." I don't care what color it is. It's
Steel
steel
cut.
bread.
Yeah,
They
not
actually,
stone ground, steel cut.
Yeah, right.
Thanks, Lee. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. It's steel cut or same thing.
I don't eat it, so I'm not
Right.
really sure about it.
They did a study. It's been Dr. Lustig out in California did a study. It's been several years back, and they took 2 slices of your whole wheat toast, and so two slices of bread, and they compared the glycemic index, how fast it turns to sugar, of between that and a Snickers bar. Snickers won because it
Really?
had some nuts
Yes.
in it. Yeah. That bread turns to sugar faster than a Snickers bar does. So you're better off
Wow.
eating a Snickers than you were 2
Yeah.
slices of bread. And I
oat-
don't suggest that
and
either.
oats may be a hair better than wheat, but when you really get down to it, when you go to if you want metabolism to work better, a grain-free diet is what you want. And even the H. pylori, which you
Right.
mentioned you couldn't get rid of, a lot of times sugar lowers the immune system. So it's not just about the weight. It
Right.
lowers the immune system, and if that immune system stays low, then the H. pylori is going to keep coming back because it's a bacteria. It's a stomach bacteria. And you also need your probiotics in order to keep that from coming back as well.
That's
So
right.
that all plays a role in it.
It's a complex thing
Yeah. So what-
to
so-
get it all fixed, but we can do it. Yeah.
So what is a good thing to eat? Like in the morning time, I will have a couple of hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
That's actually a good breakfast.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
and usually I'll have that with some organic milk or with just some water.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
the thing about what we have a tendency here, and you can thank General Mills and all those other guys, Kellogg's. They want you to think breakfast food.
Cereals.
Okay, cereals and so on. Now here's the deal: go around the world, other parts of the world. In other words, other cultures and so on. What do they eat for breakfast? Same thing they eat for dinner or lunch, whatever. They just eat. It's food. They don't have breakfast foods and other foods. And that's what we have to do is kind of get back to the idea that, well, okay, I can eat whatever I want for breakfast.
have a
As
piece
far
of
as-
chicken.
You can have a piece of chicken, for instance, chicken breast. Yeah.
All right. Join us again next week. What are we talking about?
Something that goes along with this problem is non-alcoholic fatty livers, the fastest growing problem in the United States, and it tends to go along with insulin resistance and people that don't handle sugar properly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, join us again next Monday morning at 9 o'clock for our live edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Live healthy, be healthy with Dr. Jim and Janine Fox, or stop by and see them. They're open 10 to 5 Monday through Friday, 11 to 2 on Saturdays. They're on Cowan Road in Gulfport, south of Pass Road.